Hello, everyone. Welcome to our food and hospitality talk. I'm Chala Tshitundu. I am the associate print editor at Bon Appetit magazine. Yes, in 2022, we still make a print edition. Please pick it up. I work very hard on it. And I'm just so thrilled and honored to be moderating this conversation, to be having a conversation about the intersections of food and cannabis, two things that are very near and dear to my heart, having worked even before being at Bon Appetit in the food industry, front of house, back of house, line cook, prep cook, cheesemonger, done it all. And food in and of itself is a space that is so exciting, especially being in New York City, one of the great food cities in the world. So to also be introducing cannabis into the food and hospitality space is incredible. And to be able to talk to three fabulous women about it is so incredible as well, because historically, hospitality, as was said at the sex and wellness conversation, a lot of old white men. So to be up here with three powerhouse women and to be up here as a Black genderqueer person stewarding this conversation feels pretty historic and feels pretty important. So thank you so much to LMCC for having me. So we have three fabulous panelists here, and I'm going to have you all introduce yourselves actually, and we will start with Victoria.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Victoria Pustynsky. I'm the founder and CEO of Aurora Elixirs. We are a Portland, Oregon-based beverage company. We make whole plant-infused, non-alcoholic sparkling beverages. We have a line of hemp drinks, we have a line of hops-infused products, and we have a line of THC-infused products that are coming later this year. And I've also spent a long career in food and beverage and 15 years in the wine and spirits industry before moving to Portland and starting this cannabis business. So I'm so glad to be here.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Brown, Chief Innovation Officer for Open Book Extracts. We are a North Carolina-based product innovation house focused on the cannabinoid industry. So we develop all of the various ingredients that go into all the products in the market and focus on R&D, formulations, different form factors to bring products to market that make people's lives better. And food and hospitality is a huge topic that we talk about day in and day out, and excited to share some more thoughts with you here.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jessica Assaf. I'm the co-founder and chief education officer of Prima. We are a certified B Corp and purpose-driven brand making skincare, supplements, and body care with hemp CBD and functionally innovative botanical ingredients. And our goal is really to target stress and be an anti-stress brand. And I believe food is medicine, and there's so many parallels with cannabinoids, clean products, so really excited to have this conversation.
Thank you all so much for being here. And like you're saying, food is medicine. It's the oldest medicine. It is the medicine that we enjoy every single day. And having backgrounds in food and hospitality and being able to see just how these categories have expanded and how the category of food and cannabis is expanding. What excites you about the food and cannabis and hospitality sector?
I can start. I think a lot of things, right? I think, when you talk about food and hospitality and you think about cannabis, you're thinking about delivering experiences, right? This is about what makes something an experience that is memorable, that is delightful, that is beneficial, and helping you just live a better life. And so the exciting thing for us is how can you create those differentiated, sophisticated products using new types of technologies, new types of ingredients that are creating alternatives to things like alcohol, things like supplements that are differentiated, that are new, and that are going to make a difference. And so that's where this intersection is something so powerful. And the two ladies sitting next to me can certainly speak to the work that they do to create those different kind of lifestyles that are going to just be a new normal, I think.
I think it's exciting to see the changing landscape in retail. I mean, that's been a very interesting thing to watch, especially when everything shut down in 2020 and we had to kind of convert a lot of products and may have had an intention to be consumed socially or publicly or in a restaurant or a hospitality space, and all of a sudden you're in this retail landscape, and if you walk into the cold beverage aisle in a lot of places in Portland, and I'm sure in Brooklyn and all over the country, I mean, the proliferation of new products that are out there now is kind of amazing. And I think what's exciting is that there are founders that are like us that are bringing products out there where it's not just giant beer companies or Coca-Cola, PepsiCo anymore, which has been the non-alcoholic set for decades. So I think that there's excitement in all of the innovation and this opportunity for these individually founded brands to kind of make it onto a larger scale retail shelf.
Totally agree. I also am very inspired by where food and cannabis started and where it's going. I was a part of the very early cannabis industry, just growing up in San Francisco. You know, it was really in the air that I breathed, just walking down the street. But I remember going to the dispensaries very, very early days, and it was a bunch of sugar Rice Krispie treats, stale, horribly formulated. I mean, I still ate them because it was the only thing available. And that was it. And there are a lot of parallels between where the dispensary model started in terms of product assortment, what consumers were looking for, and where we've been with the food industry. You know, for so long we thought fat was the enemy and sugar was the solution. And there were tons of preservatives in products, and people didn't know what to look for. And I finally feel like we're getting back to the source, back to the realness, back to what matters. People caring about knowing where the food is grown, who's behind it. And similarly with cannabis, you know, just the fact that people care about the people behind the brands is a huge win, and it's hugely different from where we started. So I just feel like the soul is coming back, but we're also going back to the roots, going back to what matters, and ultimately what's best for us. So I love seeing just the surge in wellness products, the fact that now you go to a dispensary, you can find edibles without refined sugar, and same with food. So I think that it's full circle, we're finally getting back to the essence and no longer undermining the therapeutic potential of the plant.
Absolutely, and it's incredible because, like you said, there are so many products that are out there and more products coming onto the market every single day. I think the edible sector itself grew, I think, 20% from 2020 to 2021, which is huge, insane. And to talk about these products that are more individually driven, Victoria, I know Aurora has been around since about 2016, before this big can-of-bev boom that we've seen in the past few years, especially through COVID and people subscribing more to the zero-proof beverage fad. Even though it's not really a fad, it's kind of here to stay. I would love for you to talk about how this trend has evolved your mission as Aurora and where you're headed and what you see as the potential for growth.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's huge potential. And it's funny just thinking about, as you're talking about the growth of edibles, when you used to look at those, you know, the research charts, Nicole, you can probably speak to this too. It's like cannabis beverages was like the tiniest little dot on that scroll. It's like gummies, and then like flour is this huge part, and then oil is this huge part, and then it's like beverages, like a small space. But there's so much buzz about it. There's just been so much interest in it as a sector, even though maybe dollar-wise hasn't sort of panned out in the same way. It's now growing, and there are a lot of incredible pioneering brands out there. But yeah, like you said, when we started, I think there were 3 infused beverages when we launched. We couldn't even get domestic hemp at the time. We had to get it from overseas. We had to do our own emulsions, do our own formulations. There was nothing water-soluble available on the market. So it's like we definitely took the long path, but I think the more that comes out there, the more shelf space we can occupy, the more dispensaries are stocking coolers as like a have to have that space. It gives people opportunities to taste products, understand what they like, understand what they do, what their effects are, and also just kind of see things outside of the alcohol box. And it's like interesting because my background is in wine and spirits. Nicole and I actually used to work together in a wine and spirits business. And when I created Aurora, I was definitely looking for that like consumption occasion that was non-alcohol, but more as like maybe we'd mix it with alcohol, or like you would start, or like maybe there's a different way to kind of like approach this social setting. And it was a little bit surprising to me to see how many people were looking for a substitute. and wanted an evolved substitute that had good ingredients, that had a plant as a source, and the adaptogenics, nootropics, these were like words that just weren't part of the lexicon at the time, and it's kind of been fantastic to see this huge proliferation, these stores like Spirited Away and Boisson here in New York that are like just non-alcoholic bottle shops, So I think that it's going to continue. We're seeing tons of new products entering this space, but I think finding the products that kind of meet the occasion, I hear just people all the time like, I don't want to be asked all the time why I'm not drinking. And like holding your drink makes me feel like nobody's going to ask me that question because it still feels celebratory. So it's kind of capturing that celebratory moment without the depleting and potentially negative effects of alcohol consumption. So.
And you brought up these terms that I hear these terms like water soluble, like bioavailable more and more these days. And I'm like, when did I come to a chemistry class? That's not what I was here for. But they are very important terms because they have a lot of impact on not only how your body processes the cannabinoids, but how it breaks them down. And so, Nicole, I would love for you to talk more about your work at Open Book Extracts and the work that you do with these new technologies to really be able to break down how these cannabinoids are adapted in the body.
Absolutely. And this goes back to when Jessica was saying like how far we've come, right? And so much of what's enabled us to come this far is all these advancements in technology, and that you're able to now have access to different ways of creating water-soluble cannabinoids. So cannabinoids on their own, they're very hydrophobic. They don't like going into water. They don't taste good when they go in there if you try and do that. And so over time, there's been all of these dedicated scientists, many of whom work on our team, who are developing those new methodologies to create different emulsions, is the term there, that can create products like beverages that can go into edible products and food products. And so it's not only helping to create a better overall product experience, like if you tried any of those very early days beverages or other products, they were not so nice. They were not what the work you put into yours. And so now you're creating that experience that's not only a good tasting experience, but it also has benefits when it comes to its overall efficacy. So you're talking about products that will be better when it comes to how fast and how quickly they are absorbed into your system, how quickly you feel the effects. So almost getting closer to that feeling of when you have your first sip of wine, or like that first sip, right? Where it's like, when can you recreate that in a cannabis experience? And the answer is like, yes, we can, and yes, we will. And those are the types of products that we're delivering. And when it comes to that piece of the chart that's going to get bigger and bigger, especially when it comes to beverages and some of these alternative new products, it's going in that direction because of these technologies and because consumers are demanding them. They want them. This whole idea of if you don't want to drink an alcoholic beverage, you're a second-class citizen. There's no alternatives or options for you at an on-premise bar or at your friend's party. That's all changed now. Like, there are many more options and there are many more coming, and it's a welcome change, and all the different ways that the technology supports that are so exciting.
And what's so great about this technology too is that with greater understanding, there's more education. And I mean, I can speak from personal experience of having eaten an edible in the past and waking up on a different planet. And I think anyone who is a regular cannabis consumer and eats edibles probably has a similar experience. But there are also, just with these technologies, things like the onset time are different. Could you speak to how drinking cannabis is a little different from eating it?
Yeah, and first of all, caveat that by saying, like everyone's body and everyone's system is different and distinct, and so you're going to learn that about yourself, and consumers are coming along for that journey and that education. But yes, like when you are leveraging something that is a cannabis-infused beverage versus something that's an edible, like that might be able to have a more fast-acting experience. So you might have something that within 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to start to feel that effect, and those effects can be quite targeted now as well. So we're not just talking about delivering one kind of experience. You could have a beverage that's going to make you feel somewhat more inspired or uplifted, something that's going to help you relax and unwind, something that's going to help you feel energized and social and want to go mingle. And so being able to create those very selected effects that are going to allow for this very diverse portfolio of new kinds of products, so that you're not feeling like you're a second-class citizen when you're choosing these types of beverages. If anything, they are becoming more and more the preferred path for what people are choosing at the end of the day, whether it's to take a infused beverage instead of that glass of wine or that cocktail, or to choose to take something like an edible. Like, this is the path that people are taking, and it's because people are being very proactive about their choices when it comes to their health and wellness, and being very intentional about it. And the education that everyone on this stage is doing to help them learn more and understand more. And that's really where the brands are doing an amazing job of giving access to that education to make this easy to understand, and so that they can have access to great things that are going to be a part of their lifestyle.
Absolutely. And speaking of brand innovation, Jessica, Prima just launched a new product, the anti-gummy it is being lauded as. Can you talk about the new Chill Out Chews, the development process, and why an anti-gummy?
Yes, so if you look at the CBD and the cannabis market in general, last time I checked, about 40% of the market is made up of gummies. And let's just dissect this gummy format for a second. So inherently, most gummies have refined sugar, an animal byproduct like gelatin, so like cow hooves or pig hooves, and artificial colors, flavors, dyes. And why? Are we really at a place in society where that's the best we can do? I don't think so. I think that we can do better. And we're talking about a plant compound. CBD comes from this therapeutic plant. So why are we disguising a candy as a supplement and undermining the potential of this highly therapeutic plant compound? Cannabinoids have anti-inflammatory properties. Sugar is one of the biggest inflammatories that we have. And so it just didn't make sense to us that consumers have accepted this format, businesses don't think that they can innovate and do better, and we just decided to do that. And so we came up with a chew. It's called Chill Out, and there is no refined sugar, no animal byproducts, it's fully vegan, no artificial colors or dyes, it's all plant-derived. It also has a patent-pending delivery system, and it works instantly. It starts to break down as you chew it. And so we just decided to do it. I mean, it's not rocket science, but at the same time, I don't eat refined sugar. My team's very health conscious. My business partner is a vegan. And so a lot of these products don't even align with the modern consumer's lifestyle. And why should we compromise? Why should we eat super healthy and control for the food we eat? Again, food is medicine. It's the one thing, along with the products we put on our bodies, that we can control for. We can't control the water we drink or the air we breathe in terms of quality, but we can control what we put in our system. And so we want to give consumers a healthier, better-for-you option. It has CBD. It's also microencapsulated, so it's bioavailable. And, it's so important that we continue to innovate and move the needle, because it's critical for this entire space that people feel the effects of our products. For a while, there was just a bunch of tinctures, and if you know the science of oil-based tinctures and oil-based cannabinoids, they really don't mix with the water-based human system. So we need to do better for all of us, so people actually believe that these compounds can work. And so here we have Chill Out. Everyone can sample. 2 per serving, and you really feel the effects. And we're also trying to go after the after work glass of wine. A lot of people love wine, and that's great. I love wine too, but there are other options out there as well. And maybe after work, when you're already so stressed out, maybe you don't need a glass of wine every time. So just giving people another option, moving the needle, evolving the industry, it's our responsibility. We have to. So it's truly an honor to launch Chill Out, and I hope you all have enjoyed it. But if not, try it on your way out.
I'm definitely partial to the afterwork wine myself. Not that wine headache, though. That one I could
Yep,
do without.
exactly. You don't need the sugar high, you don't need the hangover. I mean, you can have it if you want, but there's also other choices.
And speaking of the sugar high and gummies, in the edible space, like you said, it used to be these sugary Rice Krispie treat, packaging that says Skittles across it. And something that we have seen more and more of are children who are getting into edibles, children who are seeing them and taking them to school and either getting expelled or getting seriously hurt. And so I want to pose a question to you all. What responsibility do you think that manufacturers have when producing and marketing these infused consumable products? And how can they work in tandem with consumers, with adult consumers, to keep young people safe?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, it's being very mindful of the positioning and your product. When we're working with all of our various partners and brands that we work with, it's like staying away from, different types of shapes. Like, don't make it into something that's like a gummy bear or something that's like, okay, if this is truly a health and wellness product, let's make it look and feel like a health and wellness product should. Like, this is something that's supposed to be beneficial and helpful to you. So that's like the first place to start is just, there's been cases recently, those are mostly on the THC side, where they've been pretty directly replicating different kinds of candies in children's products. It's just going too far. So, I think there's a responsibility and an ethics just around being mindful of everything from your packaging, the types of shapes you use, types of things that it's like, this is truly going to be a wellness product, something that's positioned to help your overall nutritional benefits, your health, and that's where I think it's a good place to start.
I think I think it's our responsibility to also build trust with the consumers. And I think when you're in an event like this, or you live in a market like Portland, Oregon, and you're in this or Brooklyn, New York, you're in a bubble, and you don't realize that sometimes there's just all these products out there that I remember just reading the New York Times article about CBD about a year ago, and they were like, well, the biggest problem with the industry is that 95% of the products out there aren't what they say that there are, and there's just not enough transparency and accountability. It's like, you have to have lab results attached to products that you put in the market. It just seems so simple when you're putting out a wellness product that claims to have effects, that lists these ingredients, that they're actually there when you put them on the label, being compliant to FDA label standards. There are tons of products that are out there in the market that just aren't doing what they say that they're doing and don't actually contain what they say that they contain, which is you're just not establishing trust with your potential consumers. So that's a huge component.
Yeah, and those bad actors are just giving the entire category a bad name, whereas there are so many people and entities doing it the right way and setting that standard and setting that example for quality, for safety, for being able to be compliant with label claims. And so, I think it's about continuing to elevate and push that forward and make sure that the ones that are not playing by those rules don't ruin it for everyone else and don't create that distrust of products in the space, because there are so many products that are doing good and doing it right, and emphasizing that, and of course having, whenever that governance comes, which is going to come sooner or later, we all know it, that's going to help a lot too.
And even to that point, so both cannabis and hospitality and food, they are so much about consumer care and customer care. Hospitality is about creating a gorgeous experience for your customers, for the people who come in. And so I would just love to hear you all speak more to your dreams for the cannabis hospitality space, and really pie in the sky, especially in New York as more East Coast markets open. What do you see? What do you want to see? And what do you think is coming?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I really wish, this is a little ethereal, but I want people to realize how good they can feel. I think most of us have accepted this baseline of health and wellness. yes, I'm stressed, yes, I have inflammation, yes, I can't sleep, but that's just life. And I think what these botanicals are teaching us, and even the idea that you can choose a CBD drink over an alcoholic beverage at a party and make an intentional decision based on how you want to feel, I think we have the opportunity now to ask people, first of all, how are you doing really, which is something we always ask at Prima. If you check in with your physical, social, mental well-being, how are you doing really? And what do you need to feel better because you can? I think that so many of us have settled on alcohol or other substances as the solution, but a lot of times you're just using those to numb what's really there. And I think if we can be more honest and open and realize that we need a toolbox of solutions, all of the products in this room from the brands here, that should be in everyone's toolbox. Sometimes you need a patch, sometimes you need a drink, but sometimes you might not need the beer in front of you, and you can decide, I want to sleep well tonight, so I'm going to use a sleep-based cannabinoid product. I think we really have the opportunity to change the future for people and help them realize that while we all are stressed, stress is an epidemic, we're all dealing with these things, these products can really transform how we feel and at our fingertips. Like, we don't need to go to the doctor to get prescribed something. We can go to a D2C website and get an amazing elixir, amazing soft gel or chew, and feel better that night. I think it's just a beautiful thing that we have the opportunity in this lifetime to reclaim our health and happiness with plants, with benefits.
As a New Yorker, I am too used to just pushing through the stress. I'm like, it's fine.
It's fine.
I live in Brooklyn, of course I'm stressed.
No, I think that was super well said, Jessica. And coming onto the stage here on the heels of the sex panel, which was a very tough act to follow. Those women were amazing, but it builds off of that, right? It builds about this whole idea, they're talking about what does it mean to feel pleasure and to truly know what that is. And so one thing that Alex is our director of innovation, sitting in the front row here. So I'm going to steal her term. We want to make someone feel a feeling. I came into this industry because, I'd worked in wine and spirits, actually, with Victoria. I'd worked in the beauty industry. And when I started to understand this plant and understand cannabinoids, I, in my entire experience, had never witnessed an ingredient or set of ingredients that could influence so many different categories at once. You're talking about something that can make very much beneficial products for food, beverage, nutrition, sex, for pets, for beauty products, you name it. And this is one plant that can do it all and create meaningful change across the board. And so when it comes to what are my hopes and dreams, is that in each of those categories, and especially for us, when you look at the life cycle of your day or the life cycle of the stages of your life, that cannabis and cannabinoid products are going to play a role throughout every stage and throughout every step of that. And it can be alternatives to everything from caffeine to alcohol to beauty products that have detrimental ingredients to them. This is a future that is very bright and is very much powered by cannabinoids.
I think, in addition to the education, as the other ladies touched on, I think there's an acceptance component. So I think in my dream world, to see understanding and acceptance of users. It's I don't know how far everybody else's usage goes back, but I know I went to jail when I was a teenager, it's wrong place at the wrong time, but it's there's, God, there is an opportunity for us to now be in a public space and not be shamed, or, there's discretion that is now allowed with beverage consumption and edibles and chews and smokeless options out there for public consumption, so that it becomes part of the social fabric without the stigma that's been attached to it for so long. So you can be doing something good for yourself, but at the same time feeling good and having a lovely elevated social interaction that involves cannabis at the centerpiece.
Amazing. And speaking of being able to bring cannabis into your everyday, we have a special treat. So we are going to introduce up Keri Richardson, the CEO and head chef at Alta Crèmerie. Keri, if you would like to join us on up here.
And I couldn't save all the good treats for myself, so I brought all of you guys Altavia.
Thank you.
So you can pass this around.
So our panelists did not know that they were getting treated.
No, this is a
fabulous
surprise. We knew there was some kind of treat coming.
And so we are going to be trying this, and I will be asking for your real-time reviews. A little tasting.
Ooh.
Yes, you didn't think Bon Appetit would be here without a tasting, did you? We're going to do a little tasting, and we'll have Keri introduce Altavia, talk about your work there, and talk about what we are going to be trying up here.
Of course. So again, I'm Keri Richardson of Altavia Crèmerie. We are a CBD-infused gelato and sorbet company based in Atlanta, Georgia. We ship all over the US, so feel free to order online from us anytime. What you guys will be trying today, so I'll start from the furthest away from the paddle handle. Okay, so the first is a banana pudding gelato. And it is equipped with wafers, so we like to add a bit of texture into our gelatos and sorbets. So feel free to go ahead and try that one.
The banana is just like right there, it's like wham, like the banana is so good.
So we made sure to pass like the grandmother test, right? So your grandmother is really good at making banana pudding, so we had to get her to try it, and once we got the thumbs up, we knew that it was ready to go to market. The second sampling that you're going to try is a key lime pie, and that key lime pie gelato is equipped with our cookie crumble crust. So I like a little crust in every bite. I hope you guys do too. So we made sure to attach some cookie crumble on the top.
Oh my God.
You were
Yeah.
my neighbor all day, so I've been eating this all day. But they're so good. Just the texture is so rich and delicious.
Thank you.
And the key lime is like so tart. There's like that perfect tart. Yes, I was just in Miami a couple weeks ago, and like this passes the like Miami test.
Yes,
this is good.
Yes, good to hear. And I am not a fan of key lime, but I love key lime pie
Right,
gelato.
I am.
The third thing that you will try is a butter pecan gelato. And I am from the South, so we butter our pecans. So the pecans are buttered, they're roasted,
Oh my
and they're
God.
salted.
Oh my God, that's outrageously good. that's the way to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so luscious. That buttery, like toasted. Yeah.
Creamy.
All of that. And then the last one you will try, because it is Cinco de Mayo, is our vegan sorbet. It is mango, jalapeno, and cilantro.
I'd share with you guys, but I'm sorry, it's so good.
So happy Cinco.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Alex knows spicy mango is like my favorite thing in the world. So this is a perfect spicy
Yay,
mango.
thank you,
The
thank
like
you.
cilantro, that like herbaceousness
Yes.
with the
Yes.
mango.
Oh yeah. No. The heat and that one's my favorite too.
Thank you, thank you.
Winners,
Yeah.
you all should pick some up for sure.
Yes.
They're winners.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you
then
Thank you so much.
Keri. And then we have time for about 3 or 4 questions, if there are any audience questions. Keri, you can also join us
Yes.
if there are any questions for you as well. If you do have a question, please raise your hand, shoot it high. Nobody?
Hi. I guess my question's for all of you, but specifically to something that Victoria had mentioned. Like, what do all of you see as the greatest barriers to entry into, being able to be involved in the culinary cannabis world? So I guess that's like part A. And then part B would be like, how do you, if you do, mediate those barriers to entry for others who for so long have been restricted marginally from entering the cannabis world?
Jess, you've been at it for a while. Do you want to take that one?
I mean, the undertone of this entire industry is just that there are people in jail for doing exactly what we're doing, but just at a different time. So we need to acknowledge that, we need to talk about it, and we need to do something about that, all of us. I can't say that Prima's figured out the answer. I mean, we try and do everything right. We donate 1% of our yearly revenues to nonprofits that work on that and align with our mission. But there's so many challenges. I think one thing is, it's interesting to think about how you promote a supplement and at the same time promote that compound in a food product. There haven't been a lot of case studies for us to look at. I mean, you can talk about how they're natural essential nutrients and, greens, and you can also take them as a supplement, but there's not a playbook for us to go by. How do you legitimize this compound and cannabinoids in a macaroon while at the same time promoting it as a soft gel, as a daily supplement? It's a little confusing, and I think that we need to do more to be able to explain how both have a place in our lives, but we're doing the best we can. I think generally speaking, the digital advertising restrictions, the fact that we're constantly kicked off of Instagram, Facebook, SMS. Prima started a whole CBD advocacy coalition to try and get us not banned from SMS, which is a really powerful marketing channel. We had really impressive monthly revenue associated to SMS, and then the cellular networks kicked us off because CBD is considered to be in shaft classification, which is sex, hate, alcohol, firearms, and tobacco. Explain that, like where does it fit in there? This is a plant, but for whatever reason, we're still under the shaft handcuffs, truly, and so it's a constant battle. Part of that is a competitive advantage if you could actually survive through it. But we just need to band together, and if anyone wants to join the CBD Advocacy Coalition, please email me, jessica@prima.co, or find me after. We just need to join together and realize all ships rise, there's space for everyone, and we're stronger together.
Keri, I'd love to hear you speak to this because we're just getting you up here.
Of course. I think for me, the largest barrier to entry has been capital. I think as a woman of color, there's the competence, of course, there's the confidence, and of course we have the confection. But I think for us, it's been capital. A lot of companies are not as readily available or as interested in investing in small businesses, or I've heard, a ton of times that, we're worried about the cannabis space, or we're worried about how we'll fit into this space. So they're like, we're happy to invest in your non-infused gelato because it tastes amazing, but my company is a CBD-infused gelato company. So while we do have these ancillary products, CBD is at the forefront of what we want to offer. So I think that has been the biggest barrier to entry for me personally.
I mean, I think there's a history also. I was talking about this with somebody earlier today where, at the early days, there was a lot of capital available, and unfortunately, there were bad business plans or bad actors and unsuccessful products, and it kind of burned the pathway for a lot of good actors that came on later. And, with the innovation, and there's just more opportunity. There's more space and shelf space. There's more retails as new markets open up, and there should be more opportunity for new people to come in. I mean, I think the marketing one is a huge one that you learn when you get into it, where it's like, oh my God, you can't do anything. Like payment processing, you can't do. Like, so even online orders. I mean, everybody who's worked in the industry is like, oh my God, the payment processing thing. It's like, they shut me down like after the first $150 we sold. I was like, that's it? That's all I get to do? But so I think that coalitions, like especially like peer groups, like is just invaluable in this space because there's so much peer-to-peer knowledge that needs to be shared, and I'm like so grateful for the community of like founders and makers, especially women founders and makers, and it's like that I lean on constantly in our marketplace. So that's a good way to start.
That payment processing is a struggle. Yeah. We are an e-commerce brand, and if they don't shut you down, they make you pay more for every transaction. It's cumbersome, seriously.
Do we have another question?
This is mainly for Nicole. I know a little bit about open book extracts because actually one of your colleagues came to my school symposium last week, so that was super cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Who was it?
I'm gonna have to Andrea.
Of course.
Yeah. I am wondering in your work if there are any sort of minor cannabinoids that are like really interesting and coming up and that you expect to see in products soon.
My favorite question. I promise I didn't plant her in the audience. All right. So, of particular interest, right now, I think we've all seen the proliferation of CBN products. It's kind of paved the way for this understanding of the fact that there are other cannabinoids, in addition to CBD, that have the power to do other things. And that was you talk about obstacles and barriers to entry on that side. That was an obstacle. Like, we didn't know were consumers going to be able to make that leap and get there. And the answer that consumers have proven is yes, they get it, and they've experienced it. And there's been great products put in the market that are now specifically in that case helping people sleep better. So what can come next is THCV is one that we are spending a ton of time devoting to our R&D efforts. What THCV has the power to do is give you better energy, give you better focus, and even help to reduce and curb your appetite. And so the way we approach that is we invest a ton in research to validate that. So both doing our own consumer insights and research, taking that to third parties and doing studies that we want to be able to build that trust and to also inform all the decisions that we're going to make. But when you look at those particular outcomes, being able to have better alternatives to help you stay awake better, so that's going to take people away from milder things like caffeine or heavier things like Adderall, and be a much better and natural and plant-based alternative. Take that whole energy drinks category, wipe them off the shelf, all those chemicals on that label. It's how about a really nice clean label with a nice plant ingredient in it that's going to do the same thing or even better. So it's one that we're particularly excited about. There's a very long list of additional cannabinoids that we're looking into. I'll name two more. CBC is another that you might be hearing about. CBC has properties that can provide better pain relief, anti-inflammation, and again, looking at that through a lens of research to validate that, as we move forward into those categories and look at where those could be, again, super powerful alternatives to create better routines in your life.
Last call for questions. Anybody? I have one more question. What is the best review you've heard of your products? Anybody? Please.
InStyle wrote that our bath gem is almost better than sex. I'll let you guys prove true or not, but yeah, that's the verdict. Almost better.
I'll say, actually one of the best reviews I heard was today. Someone was saying that most CBD-infused edibles have an aftertaste, and they said the only aftertaste they taste with Altavia is the aftertaste of delicious. So.
Oh, it's true. I agree.
It's very true. I'm still getting that mango jalapeno at the back of my palate.
It's like you just suck your teeth all the time.
No, truly, just it's in there.
I've gotten liquid sunshine. I really like that one.
I like that.
I just feel like it's bright and transportive.
I like that too. We are a product development house, so we don't. We're supporting making products, like the ones we're hearing about here. But I will share, we did conduct one of our research studies very recently, and we're still analyzing the data. We just got the report actually a few days ago, but we are starting to read through some of the qualitative and anecdotal comments. And this was a study looking at minor cannabinoids for pain. And one of the participants wrote in, and he's been working for 30 years at a steel factory, moving molten steel with cranes, with this long description. And he's had level 9 pain for most of his career, because that's pretty hard labor. And he was in a blinded study where he developed certain formulations that we thought would have better outcomes for pain. And he said that, on day 5 of the 30-day trial, he woke up and could lift his arm over his head for the first time in 10 years and had level 2 pain, right? I mean, it's I get chills talking about that. So that's why we're all sitting here, is to create something this product is the only thing that's ever worked. Yeah.
That is so incredible. Thank you all 4 of you for being here. Thank you all for being here for this panel.